The Plaza Hotel ballroom glittered like a frozen constellation on Christmas Eve. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across marble floors while champagne flutes clinked in gloved hands. Evelyn Carter stood near the velvet staircase, one hand resting gently on her 7-month belly. She wore a simple maternity dress, pale ivory against her dark skin, waiting for her husband Cole to return with the surprise he'd promised. She believed tonight would be different. She believed he still loved her. She was wrong. Hello, friends. Welcome to Black White Stories. Before we begin today's story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We love hearing from our global family. The music shifted. Conversations dimmed to whispers. Then Jade Monroe appeared at Cole's side, her emerald gown clinging to her like a second skin. She smiled at the crowd, at the cameras, at everyone except the pregnant woman standing alone by the stairs. Jade lifted her crystal glass, tilted it just slightly, and let the red wine tip forward. The liquid splashed across Evelyn's dress like blood on snow. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Jade's voice dripped with false concern. Oh dear, that's what cheap fabric does. It stains so easily. Evelyn's hands trembled. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked at Cole, waiting for him to defend her, to say something, anything. But Cole just squeezed Jade's waist and sighed with irritation. Let's not make a scene, Evelyn. You're always so sensitive. The words cut deeper than the wine ever could. Evelyn gripped the banister as the room tilted. Her vision blurred. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, and a sharp pain lanced through her abdomen. She tried to steady herself, but no one moved to help. No one reached out. The orchestra kept playing, too bright, too cruel, as if her humiliation was simply part of the evening's entertainment. Then a voice cut through the noise like steel through silk. That's enough. Every head turned. A tall black man in a tailored black coat stood at the entrance, snow dusting his broad shoulders. His eyes, sharp as winter steel, locked onto Cole and Jade with unmistakable fury. Evelyn blinked through her tears. She had never seen this man before, but something about him felt familiar, as if he carried pieces of a life she'd lost long ago. Cole stepped forward, puffing his chest. Sir, this is a private event. You're interrupting something important. The stranger didn't even glance at him. His gaze remained fixed on Evelyn, reading every tremor in her hands, every shallow breath. Important? He repeated quietly. To whom? Cole bristled. To me. I'm Cole Harrington, Deputy Director at... I know exactly who you are, the stranger interrupted. And what you are. A shocked murmur swept through the guests. Jade stepped in front of Cole, her confidence cracking just slightly. Look, whoever you think you are, you can't just barge in here. This poor girl is making a scene again. She loves attention. Evelyn flinched at the casual cruelty in Jade's voice. The stranger's expression hardened to stone. Interesting choice of words, considering she was the one humiliated, not the one holding the wine glass. Jade's face flushed. It was an accident. The stranger's voice dropped to something dangerous. No, it wasn't. For the first time all evening, Jade looked genuinely uneasy. Cole demanded, voice cracking. Who are you? The stranger finally met his eyes. Someone who doesn't tolerate cruelty, especially toward a woman carrying a child. Then he stepped closer to Evelyn, lowering his voice so only she could hear. You need to sit. You're shaking. Evelyn's knees wobbled. The chandelier lights blurred again. A wave of dizziness crashed over her, and she felt herself falling. But before she hit the marble floor, strong arms caught her. The stranger held her as if she weighed nothing, lowering her against his chest with a care that stunned the entire ballroom into silence. Evelyn's eyes fluttered open. "I'm fine," she whispered. "I just need—" "You're not fine," he said firmly but gently. "You're in distress." "Stay still." Cole rushed forward at last, though his expression held more annoyance than concern. "Evelyn, what now? Are you trying to embarrass me even more tonight?" A ripple of disgust moved through the nearby guests. The stranger's voice turned to ice. "Step back," Cole sputtered. "Excuse me?" "That's my—" "She is a pregnant woman who needs medical attention," the stranger cut in sharply. "And you clearly aren't providing any." Jade clung to Cole's arm, her eyes darting nervously between the stranger's face and the crowd's reactions. The tide of public opinion was shifting fast, and she felt it pulling her under. Evelyn tried to sit up, wincing. "Please, I don't want to cause a scene." The stranger shook his head. "You didn't cause this. Others did." He lifted her carefully, one arm beneath her knees, the other bracing her back. Evelyn gasped softly, shocked that this stranger was handling her with more care than her own husband had shown in months. People whispered frantically, "Who is he?" "He looks like someone important." "That can't be who I think it is." Cole stepped forward again, frustrated. "Put her down. She's overreacting. She does this all the—" The stranger's voice cracked like a whip. "You will not speak to her again tonight." The authority in his tone froze Cole mid-step. Then the stranger turned to a hotel staff member. "Call the medical team, now." The staff member nearly tripped in his haste to comply. Evelyn's breathing steadied slightly as she rested against the stranger's chest. Beneath the fear and pain, confusion bloomed. "Who are you?" she whispered. The stranger looked down at her, his expression unreadable. "A friend. One you haven't met yet." As the medical team rushed through the doors, as the chandeliers trembled slightly from the sudden movement, the stranger held her with unwavering steadiness while the entire ballroom watched in breathless silence. Then he added, barely audible, "And I've been searching for you for a very long time." The private ambulance cut through Manhattan streets while paramedics worked around Evelyn with quiet efficiency. She drifted in and out of consciousness, her head leaning against cool cushions. But every time her eyes fluttered open, she saw him. The stranger sat beside her, silent, composed, unshaken. He didn't touch her, yet she felt anchored by his presence alone. They arrived at a private hospital on the Upper East Side. Not the usual emergency entrance, but a VIP wing with marble floors and soft lighting meant to calm elite nerves. The orderlies bowed their heads slightly when they saw the stranger. Not out of fear, out of recognition. Evelyn noticed it even through her haze. They knew him. She was rushed into a private suite where doctors examined her with gentle hands and concerned faces. One monitored her blood pressure while another checked the baby's heartbeat. Strong, steady, reassuring. "Your child is safe," the lead doctor said at last. "You need rest and hydration." Stress triggered the episode. No signs of early labor. Relief washed over Evelyn so fast her chest trembled. The stranger appeared in the doorway, having removed his coat to reveal a tailored charcoal suit beneath. His posture was rigid, controlled, but his eyes softened the moment they met hers. "You're stable," he said, as though he'd personally willed her body back to safety. That's all that matters. Evelyn swallowed. I still don't know who you are. He stepped outside briefly, speaking to someone in a low, firm voice. Through the crack in the door, Evelyn heard fragments. Run a full medical file, and get what I asked for. When he returned, he loosened his tie as if preparing for a long night. I should call my husband, Evelyn said finally, though her voice wavered. The stranger's jaw tightened. He knows where you are. The hotel staff updated him. Evelyn looked down at her hands. And he didn't come. The stranger didn't answer. He didn't need to. Why were you even at the gala? She asked. For you, he said simply. Her breath froze. For me? You don't even know me. His gaze held hers, unwavering. Evelyn, I do know you. She stared at him, confusion deepening. Then he stepped closer and lowered his voice, each word slow and deliberate. And tonight I'll prove it. Cole Harrington finally arrived at the hospital 3 hours after Evelyn had collapsed. Not with worry in his eyes, but irritation in his step. He walked into the private suite with Jade close behind, both dressed as if returning from a celebration rather than checking on a pregnant wife, who'd fainted in front of 300 guests. Evelyn looked up from the hospital bed, her face pale, her eyes heavy. She had hoped, despite everything, for a flicker of concern. Instead, Cole glanced at the medical equipment and scoffed. Well, this explains the ambulance bill. You always find the most expensive way to get attention. Jade stifled a laugh behind her manicured fingers. Evelyn's heart throbbed with a different kind of pain. I didn't choose this room. The doctors brought me here because someone insisted on it. Jade added with sing-song cruelty. Your new friend? Evelyn stiffened. She didn't know the stranger's name or his connection to her, but she knew he was the only one who had cared enough to stay. Cole took a seat, not by Evelyn, but on the lounge chair next to Jade. You really embarrassed me tonight. Fainting in the middle of the ballroom. People think you did it for sympathy. Evelyn blinked, stunned. I nearly fell because of stress, Cole. Because you let someone humiliate me. He rolled his eyes. Here we go again. Everything is always my fault. If you can't handle a little teasing, maybe you shouldn't be out in public. Evelyn's voice cracked. A little teasing? She poured wine on me. Jade leaned forward with fake innocence. Oh, come on. It was an accident. I even apologized. You smirked, Evelyn whispered. Cole waved a dismissive hand. Enough. I'm not going to argue. The board executives were watching. Do you realize how bad that made me look? He spoke as if Evelyn's health, her fear, her humiliation, even her child, were inconveniences tarnishing his evening. The door opened quietly. The stranger stepped inside with calm, measured strides. He didn't look at Cole or Jade. His eyes went straight to Evelyn, reading her shaken breath, her trembling hands, her barely contained hurt. Cole stood quickly. You again? I told the nurse I don't want random strangers. He's not a stranger, Evelyn said softly, surprising even herself. He helped me when you didn't. The stranger's expression didn't change, but something cold and decisive flickered in his eyes. Cole scoffed. Helped? He's meddling. The stranger's voice dropped low and dangerous. No, I'm intervening. Jade crossed her arms. Who do you think you are? He stepped closer, eyes icy and clear. Someone who knows exactly what you two did tonight. Cole's face hardened. And what is that supposed to mean? The stranger paused, letting silence coil like a warning. Then he spoke quietly enough to make Jade's smirk vanish. It means your night is far from over. The hospital room dimmed to soft amber as evening deepened. Machines hummed steadily, their quiet rhythm the only constant in a world that felt like it was collapsing beneath Evelyn's feet. Cole and Jade had stormed out minutes earlier, offended by the stranger's calm defiance. The door shutting behind them left the air strangely peaceful, yet the silence carried its own weight. Evelyn lay still, one hand resting over her belly, the other gripping the blanket like a lifeline. The stranger stood by the window, his silhouette framed by the New York skyline. Snow flurries drifted against the glass, melting instantly under the warmth of the room. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. He didn't turn immediately. "Because someone should have. Someone should have a long time ago." His words struck deeper than she expected. Evelyn closed her eyes, and memories rushed back unbidden. A small apartment in Queens, the sound of clattering pipes, the trembling voice of a social worker telling her she'd be taken to a different foster home just for a little while. The look of pity adults wore around her like a uniform. Tears she wiped silently at night, so no one would think she was weak. She had spent her life trying to prove she wasn't a burden. 7 years ago, Cole had seemed gentle, attentive, grateful to have someone who believed in him. He used to bring her cheap roses wrapped in plastic, and she thought they were more beautiful than diamonds. He used to tell her she was strong, capable, worth loving. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, his affection shifted into criticism, then control, then indifference. Every argument ended with her apologizing. Every mistake became proof she wasn't good enough. He chipped away at her confidence, grain by grain, until she was a ghost of the fearless girl she'd once been. The stranger turned from the window at last and walked closer. "You weren't meant to live like this." Evelyn tried to smile, but it trembled. "Maybe this is all I was meant for." His voice held fierce certainty. "No, Evelyn, you have no idea who you really are." A chill moved down her spine. "What do you mean?" He exhaled, the kind of exhale someone releases when they've been carrying a truth too heavy for too long. "I didn't want to say this tonight. Not like this. Not when you're hurt." Her fingers tightened around the blanket. "But you deserve the truth," he continued, "and hiding it any longer would be a greater cruelty than what they did to you tonight." Evelyn's pulse thudded in her ears. "What truth?" The stranger stepped closer, his eyes steady and unflinching. Then he spoke a single sentence that shattered the fragile world she knew. "Evelyn, you were never abandoned. Your real family has been searching for you for 28 years. Evelyn clutched the blanket as the stranger spoke, her breath trapped between disbelief and fear. "My file said I was abandoned," she whispered. "No family, no one looking. It was falsified," he said tightly. "You were taken." He placed a sealed envelope on the bedside table. Sterling Medical Research Institute. Her chest tightened. "I confirmed it before I spoke," he continued, "because hope can wound if it's wrong." Her voice trembled. "Why would anyone search for me?" "Because you were born a Sterling." He met her eyes. "Your father is Alexander Sterling." The name shattered her reality. "You were kidnapped during a hospital transfer," he said. "Files rewritten, trails erased. We searched for decades until tonight." She shook. "Who are you?" He stood slowly. "Nathaniel Sterling," his voice soft. "Your brother?" Shock crashed through her grief, recognition, longing. He slid the envelope closer. "The DNA confirms it." Before she could open it, the door burst open. Cole stormed in, furious. "What is this?" Nathaniel stepped between them. "You don't get to speak to her." Evelyn found her voice at last. "I don't want him here." Security removed Cole, his threats fading down the hall. Silence returned. Nathaniel looked at her gently. "You're coming home." And for the first time in her life, the word home didn't feel like a lie. Evelyn barely recognized herself in the mirror. Not glamorous, just rested. Safe. Human. Nathaniel paused in the doorway. "How do you feel?" "Overwhelmed," she admitted. "But better. You'll need that strength," he said, setting folders on the desk. "Cole drained your joint account last night. He also tried to access your medical files." Her breath caught. "Why?" "Control. Fear." His voice hardened. "Men like him panic when they lose power." "I don't want to be afraid anymore," Evelyn whispered. "That's why we prepare." She followed him into a sunlit room lined with mirrors and garment bags closed, chosen for comfort, dignity, and a future she'd never imagined. Nathaniel met her gaze in the glass. "This is your reintroduction to the world." As a Sterling, later as the car pulled onto Fifth Avenue, Evelyn's heart pounded. Sterling Tower rose ahead, vast and waiting. Inside, attorneys laid out the truth. Protective orders, frozen accounts, legal firewalls. Nathaniel said it simply, "You are the asset." Before she could respond, alarms rippled through the floor. Cole had forced his way inside. The door burst open. Cole stood wild-eyed, desperate. "Evelyn, this isn't real." Nathaniel stepped forward. "It's over." When Cole saw the DNA report, Evelyn Sterling, his world collapsed. Security dragged him away, screaming. Silence followed. Evelyn exhaled, shaking but free. Nathaniel turned to her. "Now," he said, "we go public." Elizabeth slid the papers across the table. "This is a restraining order, and this is the petition for divorce." Cole stared at them like a death sentence. "Evelyn, don't do this. Think about everything we built." Evelyn's voice was quiet, unshaking. "What we built, I built us. I worked, I sacrificed. You took everything and still betrayed me." Her hand trembled as she picked up the pen, but her resolve didn't. "You cheated," she said. "You belittled me. You abandoned me while I carried our child. There's nothing left to save." She signed her name. Evelyn Sterling. Cole's face drained. "No, you can't leave me. I need you." "It's over," she replied. "Accept it." When he lunged forward, Nathaniel intercepted him instantly. "Touch her again, and you'll regret it." Security dragged Cole away, his voice breaking. "I'll change. I'll do anything. You already made your choices," Evelyn said softly. "And they destroyed you." The door slammed shut. Silence followed. Nathaniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's the end of him," he said gently. "But for you, this is the beginning." Evelyn exhaled, finally free.